Hello, my name is Thomas. I'm a software engineer here at Whereby, and today we're going to create a fully custom video app using the Whereby Browser SDK. So what we're going to do is start from scratch and build out a fully functioning video conferencing app. And you can follow along with the tutorial, or there's also a written version of this tutorial if you prefer that. And all of the code that I write here today is available on GitHub, so you can have a look there as well if you want. And this is what we are creating. So it's basically a prototype of a telehealth app, maybe a doctor's appointment or a psychiatrist appointment online. And as you can see, we have the remote participant in the center here, which is in this case the doctor. And then we have our self view down in the bottom left corner, and we have some input field to send chat messages, which are rendered above here. And on the right side, we have some action buttons for the camera, microphone, and screen sharing. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a room using the Whereby API. And yeah, there's a bunch of documentation on our website on how to do this, but basically we send a post request to this URL and we pass in some options. And what we want to do in this case is to ensure that the room is unlocked, because we don't really want to implement like knocking functionality in this tutorial. So we'll keep this is locked property set to false, and the other ones can just stay default. So I'm going to send the request and I'll get a response back with a room URL, which I'm going to copy and keep for later. And this is what we'll be using to connect our SDK app to a Whereby room. Now that we have created our room, we can start to write some code. So what I have here is just a starter app. It's a React TypeScript project created with Create React App. And it's mostly blank. The only thing that I have done already is to create this icon button component, which is basically just a button with an image inside, and it has like these three variants: camera, microphone, and share. And it represents the buttons that we saw on the right side in the preview. I've also added the SVG assets for the icons, and there's also some styles that are already added. So this is added already so that we can spend time on the functionality in this tutorial instead of styling. So yeah, we'll just use kind of already made CSS classes to do the styling. The other thing that I've done is to install the Whereby Browser SDK already. As you can see, it's currently in alpha version, but by the time you see this tutorial, we will have released the beta version. So let's go to the app.tsx file. This is where we'll be creating our app mostly. And yeah, let's get started by connecting to the room. So the Whereby Browser SDK exposes this hook called Use Room Connection that we can use to connect to a room, but also it gives us kind of the state updates that happens in the room. It provides us actions or functions that we can trigger in the room, and also components that we can use. I'll show you all of that later, but for now we can start by just importing that hook. So what we'll do is just import use room connection from whereby.com/browser SDK. And if we see here, we can see that It takes two parameters, room URL and some room connection options, which is an object, and it basically just tells us, or you can provide which devices you want access to, like if you want camera and microphone access and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll show you that in a bit. But yeah, for now, let's just connect to the room. So what we can do is to put the room URL of the room that we just created in a variable here. So I'm just saying const room URL equals to the room that we just created. So I just pasted that and put it in a variable like a string here. And now I can pass that into the user room connection hook. So I'm going to say const room connection equals to user room connection here. I'm going to pass in the room URL and an object. So this is the room connection options. You can see exactly the structure in our reference docs if you want, but basically what we can do is to pass in some media constraints to tell what devices we should ask for access to. So we can say here local media constraints, and we can, that's an object, and we can say that we want audio true and video true. And that's actually it. We should already be connected to the room. So I can try this. I'm going to open the terminal here to yarn start to start the development server. And let's see. So we have here localhost. Okay, and you can see that it prompts me for my camera and microphone permission, which is good. That's what we want. I'm going to press allow here, and you can see that it says there that this tab is using your microphone or camera. And what we can actually do is to verify that we are already connected to the room. So I'm just going to copy this again and open it in a new tab. And just join here. And yeah, you can see that we have a guest user here. That's our SDK. So that's this tab. So we are already connected to the room, which is good. I'm just going to close this and stop the development server. Okay, but just connecting to the room is not enough. We would like to render some video UI, so let's just do that right away. So what we can do, as I said before, we have access to the state on the room connection object, and what we can do is just to destructure that. So what I'll do is just say const object equals to room connection. And what we can do here is to grab the state. So here we have the state object. You can see it's of type room connection state. And what we want right now is to get our local video and audio. So that lives in the state. So if I go here, I can actually see how it looks. So you can see here we have local participant as a property here. So what we can do is to actually destructure the state as well. So we just do this, and we say that we want the local participant. The local participant is ourselves, and it should have a stream. What we can do is to just put this in a video element directly, but the Whereby Browser SDK also exposes a video view, which we can use. It's basically just a wrapper around the native video element, but we have some defaults and some stuff that makes it work a bit better with the SDK. So we're going to use that. And to get that, we have components as an object on the room connection. So the same as state. And we can destructure that again. So what we'll do is just say, okay, empty object equals to components, and then we can grab the video view here. Okay, so that's a bit of code, but what we're doing is we're basically grabbing just the local participant from the state of the room, and we're grabbing the video view component. And what we can do with this is to render our own video. So if we just render the video view here, you can see it already complains because it requires a stream. So we can pass in the local participant.stream. You can see that it complains because this is a required field and the local participant is possibly undefined. So if we try to add a question mark here, it still complains because the stream also is maybe undefined. So what we can do is to just put this whole block in a condition, and we can say if we have a local participant and it has a stream, we render the video view with the local participant. So I'm just copying this here, then we can remove the question mark from there. If not, render nothing and save that. So now the only thing that we're doing is just to verify that we have a local participant and the local participant has a stream before we render the video view. So yeah, let's test it. I'm going to start the server again. It's coming right here. Okay, allow, and we can see ourselves. Cool. So it works. Just closing this again. So yeah, there's a couple of things I want to do with this. So first of all, I want to style it a little bit. And since we already have some styles for this, I can just use that. So I'm just going to create a div around the video view. And we're going to say that this has a class of self view wrapper. And I'm going to close it right here. But what I'm going to do is to give class name to the top div. And then, as you saw in the preview, we had kind of like three different sections. We had the left side, the center, and the right side. And I'm going to already split this up a little bit. So I'm just creating a div around the whole left side here. Just going to say that this is the left section. So this is just adding some styles around the whole thing. And yeah, let's see kind of how that looks. So start. allow. And yeah, you can see the video is kind of in the bottom left corner, and it's rounded, which is good. The issue is that I can hear myself. Actually, let me put this right up, just like this, and I'll put this, sorry, uh, yeah, just going to split view here. So yeah, I can hear myself, which is kind of annoying. So I'm just going to put muted as a property on the video view, saving that and refreshing here. And yeah, that's much better. I don't hear myself anymore. Good. Another thing that's also normal to do in a video app, like when you are rendering your own video, is to mirror it. So we can also do that by just adding mirror. And if I refresh, yeah, so now it's mirrored. Cool. Let me full screen this again. I'll stop the server. And the next thing is to render the remote participants. So very similar to what we did here, we have on the state object array of remote participants. So we can just pick that out here, and we can create a new section after here. Let's call it the, sorry, this name, let's call it the video stage. And since this is an array, we can just loop over the participants and render a video for each one. So we can do it like this, video view stream p.stream. Okay, so this is, let's do it like this, just return here and there, and we can say if not p.stream, return null to make it stop complaining, and save. Yeah, basically what I did now was just looping over the remote participants, assigning it to this variable, and saying if the participant doesn't have a stream, return nothing, otherwise return a video view with the stream. So let's start the server again. And we go here. Sorry. Okay, nothing happens because we are not, yeah, we don't have any other participants in the room. So let's copy this again, go back here. So I'm just joining the same room in a different tab. And yeah, you can see here that we have the video view of the remote participant. Cool. But for this example, since this is a telehealth app, we are only really caring about one remote participant. So what we're going to do is just to render the first participant, the first remote one. This is something that you wouldn't do in a production app, but for this use case, it's fine. We're just going to assume that this room will only ever have 2 participants. So with this kind of implementation, what is happening is that we're just hiding the other participants. So yeah, if this was a real app, like this is not something that you would do, but for this example, it's fine. So what we'll do instead of the looping over each one of the remote participants, we're just going to say, pick the first one, and we're going to do the same as we did for the local participant there. We're going to say, okay, if we have a remote participant, and if that remote participant has a stream, we're going to render a video view with the stream of remote participants 0.stream, and if not, we'll just render null. And I'm also going to add some styles to this. So similar to the local participant, we'll just have a class name here, and we will just say that it's called remote view wrapper. And I'm going to close it right here. Okay. Good. Let's start the server again and see how this looks. I have to open the room again. Okay, so we are connected with the SDK. Let's now connect it here. And yeah, you can see now we have some styling on the remote participant as well. It's centered, at least centered vertically, and it's circular, which is good. Yeah, I think the next thing that we can do is to render the display names. So we would like to have like a label on the remote participant and also on ourself. So for our self view, what we can do is just to render a p tag here, say class name, oops, equals to self name, and since it's ourself, we can just say that the name should be you. We don't really need to render the correct display name. But for the remote participant, we can render their display name. So what we'll do is we'll just render remote participants 0 dot display name, and we'll call this remote name. Let's see where we are. I have to open this again. I keep closing it because I get feedback. I'm basically hearing myself. What I can do is actually to mute this tab. That's better. Okay, so now you see, let me refresh. So we got the correct streams here. So now I see it's not muted. I need to mute this now as well. Okay, so now we have you here, and we have my name here, which is the remote participant. Good. So let's now go back to the code and add some actions. So I'm going to stop the server again. So I'm going to destructure the actions here from the room connection. And this is a setter function. Let's have a look at it. That we can use inside the room to trigger actions. So we have stuff like send message, chat message, set display name, toggle camera, toggle microphone, and start and stop screen share. So let's start with actually rendering the right side here. We'll call this controls, as in like video controls. And we'll do another div which will hold the actual buttons, something like this. And then we can render the icon buttons. So this is the component that I talked about earlier. We can just import this, give it a variant of camera in this case. And yeah, let's not do anything with it yet. The server is not running. Start it. Just going to see how it looks before we proceed. So let's see. Okay, so we have the button up here for the camera. That's good. Let's, yeah, I think I used the wrong class name actually. Control wrapper, I think is the correct one. Yeah, so now it's centered. Okay. Let's make it actually do something. So let's destructure the actions again. And actions. And what we can do, we can pick out the toggle camera function. And we can have a on-click handler here. Let's just do an inline function here. And we can say toggle camera. And actually, let's not close this, but write cam here. This. Let's go back. Let me refresh. Okay, so now we have the self view here. We have the remote view, and what happens if I press this? Turns off the camera. Pretty cool. And you can see it on the Whereby side as well, like the camera is turned off. And turning it on. Okay, so it works, but we don't have any state in our app to keep track of if the camera is on or off. So let's add that. What we can do is just to add React use state to keep track of the camera state. So I'll just say const is camera active and set is camera active equals to React use state, and we'll say that it's true by default because we are joining the room with the camera on. And what we can do with this is to go in our on-click handler here, and we can just set the camera state to be the opposite of what it is currently. So we just set is camera active, and we just do like an inline thing here, and we just say the new camera state is equal to the opposite of the current one. And what we can do with that is this icon button component also has a active prop, or is active, which decides if the kind of look of the button is on or off. So it has a different icon, a different color if it's off. So we can say is active equals to is camera active. And that should be it. Let's switch again. Okay, we're here. And yeah, now it's not active, and it's active. Cool. And we can do the same for the microphone. It's basically exactly the same. We just import toggle microphone from the actions. We can create a new icon button. We can say variant equals to microphone. Create an on-click, and we say toggle microphone, and let's do mic here, and let's also create a state for that. So exact same thing is microphone active, set this microphone active, and the same here, it should be true by default, and we can do the same thing here. Set is microphone active to the opposite of the current value, and we can pass in is active equals to is microphone active. Okay, that's it. So we have just refresh. You can see the guest user in the Whereby room has an active microphone and it's active here. Turn it off, it's muted. Turn it on, it's active. Nice. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is to handle screen shares. So very similar to what we have already done. We have on the state object, we have a list of active screen shares. So you can see here, screen shares, and it's just like an array of active screen shares. You can see how it looks here. It has a participant ID, it has an ID and a stream, and it also has this isLocal prop that tells us if it's our screen share or not. So we can use that and we can render it. Yeah, let's do it inside of the video stage here. So we can just do same as we did for the remote participants. We can say screen shares.map, and we can do not screen share.stream, return null, otherwise return video view stream screen share.stream. Okay, let's see if this works. We have the app here. Okay, so we can't trigger a screen share from here yet, but we can do it from here. Let me just open Hacker News just to have something to share. So I'm going to share that. And yeah, we can see our screen share. Okay, so that's good, but the layout is very strange. Let's actually fix that. So what we want to do is, whenever there's a screen share, we want to move the remote participant to the corner of the screen share and have the screen share fill the main part of the screen. So to do that, we can just add some classes that we already have. So let's just remove this, and we'll do the same. We'll just render the first screen share as we did with the remote participant. So we'll just do exactly the same. Say if we have a screen share and it has a stream, we render div with the class name of screen share view wrapper and a video view inside of this with then the screen share 0 stream, and if not, we won't do nothing. I need to close the div. So, oh no, like this. And that should style it a little bit, I think. Let's see. Yeah, so now it's a bit smaller and it has a nice border radius. Okay, but we want to also remove move the remote participant. What we can do, we have a class for that, so we can just conditionally set the class here. So let's say if we have screen shares dot length. So if we have any screen shares, then we'll render remote view small. Otherwise, we'll keep the class that we had. Let's see here. Okay, just refresh. Okay, so that looks good actually. It's in the top of the screen, but the name is a bit strange. So we have a class for that as well. So we can just do the same, conditionally render this based on the screen shares dot length. So if we have screen shares, we want to have remote, or actually screen share remote name, otherwise just the remote name. And yeah, it's a bit not exactly correct, but I'm not going to spend time on that. It's not really CSS tutorial. We don't really care. It's in the correct area at least. So let's just keep it there. So that's nice. And if I stop the screen share, we go back to this. Cool. Actually, let's create the action for local screen share. So to be able to toggle screen share from inside of the app. So that's also very similar to what we have already done. We have a start screen share and a stop screen share function here. And we can just render another icon button, and we can say variant share. We can do on click. We can say, sorry, if. So here we actually need some state already because we need to know if we are screen sharing or not. So is local screen share active, set is local screen share active, React use state, and this will be false by default because we're not entering the room already screen sharing. And let's use this. So we say if we are already screen sharing, then we call the stop screen share. Otherwise, we call the start screen share, and then we go here and we do the same logic as we did before. Set is local screen share active, just the opposite of the current value. And the is active prop would then be is local screen share active. And I'll just call this share brush. So let's see if I now press this here. Yeah, we have this nice window and we can screen share, and yeah, now we have the local screen share working as well. And yeah, the icon or the color of the button is working, but it still says share. Let's actually stop it. What I want to do is just to have this local screen share active, then we say stop, otherwise we say share, just like this. So refresh again, and we can pull up this window and see here, share Hacker News. You can see that it's sharing correctly here, screen share, and this is stop, and it's showing here. Nice. So the next thing that we want to do is to add chat. We have exactly the same as the other state stuff here. We have an array of chat messages on the state object. So we can just pick that out and we can put it in the left section here. Let's create another div, call it chat wrapper. And we can just do chat messages.map. So we're just looping over each message or all the messages. And for each message, we render, let's just put a React fragment here and put the p tag with the class name of chat message and say message dot text. Nice. Let's see how that actually. So okay. Let me send the chat message from here. And yeah, you can see it here. So it works nice. But what we would like to have as well is the name of the person sending the chat message. So let's just do another p tag, chat message name. And since if we look at the chat message object, let's go here, we don't actually have, we have sender ID, timestamp, and text. So we don't actually have the display name here. So what we need to do is to connect this to a remote participant somehow. So what I actually would like to do is just to create a helper function. Let's just do it kind of before the return here. And let's just call it function get display name. And it will take an ID, which is a string. And it will return, so the remote participants, you can do .find. So we're just trying to find the first participant, or find the participant with the same ID as the ID that we're sending in. And if that exists, we can get the display name. And what we can do is say otherwise, we just render guest. So it's just a helper function for us to be able to get the display name here. So we can use that here, and we can say get display name. We pass in the message dot sender ID, and that should be it. Let's see how it looks. Refresh. Why is it complaining? Yeah, just being slow. Okay, send a message again. Hello. And yeah, you can see the name here. So that came from me. So what we can do next is to put an input field next to the self video view to be able to send chat messages from the app. So let's just do that. We have here the local participant. Let's put it maybe after that. Let's see, local participant, yeah. Okay, so we can put actually a form here. And let's say that is a class name of what is it? Input wrapper, and yeah, we'll finish that later. We'll put an input field here with, yeah, it needs a value and on change. So we actually need to have some local state for that. So let's do that right away. We'll say text set text is equal to React use state, just an empty string. And we'll say then that the value here is text, and the onChange is a function that just sets the text. So target dot value, and this can be auto closing, and we can have a button in the end. Type submit, and yeah, just send a message. Okay, let's actually create the onSubmit handler. So what this needs to do is to send a chat message. So we have the actions. We have a function here called send chat message. So let's use that. Go back to the submit and do send chat message and just send the text. And okay, let's see how this is. Okay, so this looks a bit weird, but I'll fix that in a second. Going to send. Okay, so it actually sent a chat message. You can see that here, but it refreshed the whole page. So what we need to do is to catch the event here and just do event default, because this is the default behavior of a form. So let's say that. Try again. And it sends. Okay, so yes, that's us. But yeah, we should empty the text field as well. Set text. So I just set it back to an empty string, and let's put a placeholder on this as well. placeholder, just type here. Okay. And let me refresh. Okay, type here, hello. Okay, so it works, but you might notice there's a bug here. So every time I type, everything is re-rendered. And this is because we have everything in the same component. So every time the state changes here, like the text, everything will re-render. We can quite easily solve that just by putting this whole chat functionality into a separate component. So let's just do that. I'm going to create a new file here, call it chat input.tsx. Just import start as React from React function chat input, and just like this. I'll just, oops, that was not what I wanted. I want to cut out this and paste it here, and it's complaining. We need to move the state over here, and the send chat message should be passed in. So just do an interface here and send chat message is equal to text string void, and just destructure that here. Send chat message props this, and then we'll export default chat input, and now we can import it here. Chat input, and it takes send chat message. Oops, send chat message, and that should be it. Let's see, refresh. Now, okay, so now I'm typing, there's no re-renders. Yeah, okay, this is not, it's not really handling long messages, but that's fine. Don't really care too much about the styling here. But yeah, and you can see that it re-renders whenever I send the message, and also when I do this, there's also re-renders. But all of this can be solved in a similar way. Like if you extract things into separate components, then you will avoid the re-renders. Yeah, we have pretty much all the functionality that we want here. We have camera toggle, microphone toggle, screen sharing. There's one small thing I would like to do. So whenever, yeah, you see here, whenever there's like a lot of messages and there's new ones coming in, I would like to just have it scroll directly here. We can fix that quite easily, actually, by just using React reference. So let's just do that. We'll create a reference here. We'll call it chat message bottom ref, because it's just a reference to the end of the chat messages. So right here, we can create a div. Let's see where we want it. Just outside here, we can do div. Doesn't need a class. I'll just pass it the ref. Chat message bottom ref. So we just, this is the end of the element with the chat messages. It's at the bottom, and we're just creating a reference to that. And what we can do with that is to have a use effect that just says, okay, whenever there's chat messages coming in, so whenever that changes, we want to scroll to the bottom. So let me create a helper function for that. Scroll to bottom like this, and we'll just say message or chat message bottom ref dot current dot scroll. Okay, so I should actually have autocomplete for this, but since we are just assigning the ref to null here, TypeScript doesn't actually know what type this is. So let's just give it an HTML div element here. Since it's a generic, we can just pass in this here, and that should give us, yeah. So now we have autocomplete here, and we can do scroll into view. Sorry, scroll into view, and we can say behavior equals smooth. And whenever, so in our use effect, whenever a new chat message comes in, we'll just scroll to bottom. And that should be it. Let's refresh this. Okay, let's send some chat messages. And yeah, you can see whenever there's a new message, it automatically scrolls. Yeah, so that's actually it for this tutorial. It's a simplistic version of a video app, but we have kind of shown you the basics, what you can do with the Whereby Browser SDK, and yeah, feel free to kind of use this as a starting point and build on top of. A good next step of this app would be to extract like the different things into separate components to get rid of the re-rendering issues that I showed you earlier. So like we did with the chat input here, you can extract, for example, the video controls and the chat messages themselves, and the remote and local participant. If you extract all of that into separate components, you will get rid of the rendering issues. And another thing that you can do with this app is to handle multiple remote participants, multiple screen shares, and stuff like that. You can obviously change the styling and do whatever you want with it in that sense. But yeah, we hope that this has been helpful. It's kind of an introduction to the Whereby Browser SDK, and yeah, the SDK itself is open source. It's all on GitHub. Feel free to create issues there if you find any bugs or anything. We would love to hear your feedback, and yeah, we can't wait to see what you will build using the Whereby SDK. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.